Guys, fire away.
Yeah, guys, I'd just like to say good to see you all again, and hope everybody's having a start of a good summer. And I guess this SEC meetings gives everybody something to collaborate about.
Nick, do you think there's a way to allow players that play early for the draft and don't get drafted to return to the school?
Easy job.
Excuse me, Coach.
You know, we actually have been doing some research and some work with the NFL and with 5 or 6 other college coaches who all have a significant number of guys who basically are declaring for the draft. So we've all kind of put our heads together and tried to figure out what's the best way. And if you look at the basketball model, which does allow guys to go work out, don't hire an agent, stay enrolled in school, go to these camps or whatever they have, and then decide in May whether they want to come back to school or not. I think because of numbers, I think we're all in agreement, NFL and college guys, that would really, really be hard for us. Because first of all, you'd probably have twice as many guys want to see where they're going to get drafted, so you'd have twice as many guys who would probably end up missing spring practice. You wouldn't know until May what your numbers were on the 85, whether you're going to have 6 guys leave, 2 guys leave, 10 guys leave. So how would you manage? So one year you might have 75 guys on scholarship, the next year you might have 80. So that would be a difficult management for us. But what this committee of people, along with some NFL people, have come up with that we were going to discuss here, which we haven't really had the opportunity to discuss yet, is the issue for us and for them is they don't have enough information when they give out junior grades in December to really make accurate grades. And there's some statistical information that's out there that there's been 5 or 6 guys 2 years in a row that were given come back to school grades that actually got drafted in the first round. And then there were a significant number of players who got first round or second round grades who never got drafted till the 4th round or the 7th round. And if you ask the NFL, well, how can we maintain trust with our players when you're giving us inaccurate information? Their response is we don't know enough about the guys to really give you the information, because all we can go on is film evaluation. And that's why we have a combine, that's why we have all these other things. So one of the suggestions that we sort of came up with is that maybe after spring practice or sometime thereabouts, maybe we have sort of a junior day, so to speak, just like we do in recruiting. And this idea sort of came from what we used to deal with. 10 years ago, we were trying to get seniors to come to our camp to evaluate them going into their senior year as to whether we would recruit them or not. Now, that decision has already been made in 90% of the cases, and we're trying to get guys that are going to be juniors to come to our camp because this whole recruiting process has been accelerated for all of us. So taking the same theory is, okay, guy goes through spring practice, and after spring practice at some point in time we have sort of a junior day where they come in and they have a combine and they send their scouts and they time all the guys and do the shuttle and get all the information that they need on them. And okay, here's the guys that you should look at through the junior year, and when you come in and watch practice on our seniors this whole season, you watch these guys too. But we want accurate information when that's all said and done in December. And I think that all the college coaches were in agreement that it would be much better for us if a guy could not receive his grade until he finished playing. Like, if you talk to Dabo, he's sitting there talking to 6 guys, and I'm talking to 6 or 7 guys that all got grades from the junior committee, and we're getting ready to play a national championship game. I mean, you'd like for the guys to be able to stay focused on what they're doing for their team. So if a guy gets finished playing on December 4th, he can get his draft grade. If he doesn't get finished playing until January 12th, then he doesn't get it till the next day, and then they have a 7-day period from the last college football game before a guy has to just say whether he's coming out or not. So that's not all the details, but that's, sort of the overview of what might be better to give better information to players for the players' sake, so they can make good decisions about whether they stay in school or come out. And maybe that's an alternative that somebody could buy into.
Nick, so the junior combine would be after spring practice?
It wouldn't be a combine, you just have a junior day on your campus.
Right.
Where they can send their scouts in just like we have a pro day for the seniors. And on that pro day, the upcoming seniors all run and they work them out too. But there's no day where they can do the upcoming juniors or draft eligible players. So you allow them to do that. They get the background and they get all the information on those guys. So the 5 or 6 guys that are the guys that are have a legitimate chance on your team, they watch all year long, and then you can get accurate information when they're finished playing. So better opportunity to make a better decision.
Right. The signing class, everybody is enrolled. What's the class starting now?
No, we have a couple guys that are there but have to get their final grades. Another guy that's not getting out of school until tomorrow. We have one guy who has not qualified yet. We'll give you that information when it's finalized.
Nick, how hard is it when you recruit somebody to get the truth about a kid's character or whatever background? Because everybody around that kid wants him to succeed and get a scholarship. And a lot of times they may not tell you the total truth about him, and something will happen. How much can you do without just running a background check on a kid?
Well, I think we do the best we can. We have 13 questions that we like to ask, whether it's guidance counselors, principals, high school coaches, people that have maybe worked with the guy in the past as a coach or have a good relationship with them, that you try to get some character questions answered. You don't know if you're getting truth, but we also ask the player specific questions. Something like, well, what do you think you need to do to be a good college football player? The guy says nothing, that should set off a little alarm, but I've had that happen before. But I think we do the best we can. I don't know that it's a perfect circumstance, but I do think this. I think that we are the one sport that the high school coach still matters. And until this satellite camp issue came up, which I don't really care to talk about, you still had to go to the high school. You had to go through the high school coach. The players came to your campus if they were interested in learning and having a good camp where they could develop, or if they were interested in your school from a recruiting standpoint. So I think by doing what we're doing now, we're doing what we've done in every other sport that we complain about every day, AAU basketball and all this, because that's what's happening out there. Anybody can have a camp now. If they have a prospect, they can have a camp. Then you're expected to go to that camp, and they can use you to promote their camp because Ohio State's coming, Alabama's coming, whoever else is coming. Somebody sponsors the camp, they pay them the money. What do they do with the money? Then who makes sure the kid paid to go to the camp? I mean, this is the wild, wild west at its best, because there's been no specific guidelines relative to how we're managing and controlling this stuff. It's happening outside our normal evaluation window, which means we're taking time away from our players. Our players come back to school today. All right, so we start working and making sure that our players are doing the right things. With our strength and conditioning coaches, with our academic people, with the limited number of meetings that we're allowed to have with them. Now, we're not going to be there because we're going to be going someplace else to look at some other guy.
And how much does it really benefit a major program like you to go to a satellite camp? Benefit? Any benefit
I don't know
to
how
it?
much it benefits anybody.
Yeah.
Because all the people that say this is creating opportunities for kids, this is all about recruiting. That's what it's about. All right, so anybody that tells you that, And what's amazing to me is somebody didn't stand up and say, here's going to be the unintended consequences of what you all are doing.
With some of those unintended consequences, especially this year, it's a bit of a scramble for this conference. But if it's still around in a year, the potential for non-conference game schedules, as Penn State did with Georgia State, I believe, in their camp a year ago, the potential for sponsorships, potential for exclusivity for teams outside the conference. If the high school, for instance, said, I'll guarantee you exclusivity as the only SEC school to come to this state, this school, et cetera, at this time. Are those things that were brought up before, and frankly, are they bad things? As concerning as they are, for the high school, if they're able to get more money, is that really a concern? Is that a bad thing if they're able to get more funds by doing this?
Well, I think they can get more funds without using us. Every high school can have their own camp. Why do they have to use us? We want to have our own camp. We want people to come to our campus. It's not just about recruiting. You know, we have a little camp for little kids. I get 1,200 kids. I had to stop it at that because we're trying to promote our game and develop players. And we still coach the 600 guys that come to our camps. We have 2 of them. We coach them just like we coach our players to try to help develop them. Now, we do have prospects in those camps, and we do see how they do. But that's not what the camp's for, not from our standpoint.
Would your position
All
be?
right, so why should we be promoting somebody else's camp anywhere? Because it's the same thing I said before. This is the only sport where the high school coach still matters. What they did at the high school mattered. So all you're doing is allowing all these other people that we spend all of our time at the NCAA saying, you can't recruit through a third party. You can't be involved with third party people. And that's exactly what you're doing. Creating all these third parties that's going to get involved with the prospects and all that. And then who gets exposed on that? I go to a camp, and I'm talking to some guy I don't know from Adams House Cat, and he's representing some kid because he put the camp on, and then I'm in trouble for talking to this guy? And who even knows if the guy paid to go to the camp? Is the NCAA going to do that? I mean, we do that at our camp. We have people responsible for that. They're called compliance folks. What kind of compliance people do we have at these camps?
Couple more. Would your position be different if you were still coaching in the Big Ten? In other words, do you blame Jim Harbaugh for wanting to get outside of that
I'm
region?
not blaming Jim Harbaugh. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying it's bad for college football. Jim Harbaugh can do whatever he wants to do. I'm not saying anything bad about him if he thinks that's what's best. There needs to be somebody that looks out for what's best for the game, not what's best for the Big Ten or not what's best for the SEC or not what's best for Jim Harbaugh, but what's best for the game of college football, the integrity of the game, the coaches, the players, and the people that play it. All right, that's bigger than all this. So that's what somebody should do. Now, who's doing that? I don't know. Because right now, since we have the Power Five, everybody's politicking for what they want, for their conference.
Who would you
Well, I
want
said
as
there
the
needs to
national
be a
commissioner?
commissioner. There needs to be a college football commissioner.
Who would you want for that role?
I don't have a candidate. I'm not in politics. I'm just telling you what I think needs to be done.
Do you believe that Jonathan Taylor should be able to continue his football career at Southeast Louisiana State?
I don't have an opinion on that. We gave him an opportunity. It didn't work out. What somebody else decides to do is really their business.
Last one here with Rob.
Nick, as college commissioner, would you like to see somebody like have a standard policy for discipline, standard policy for drug policy? Because all schools have different policies for different things. Would you like to see one guy, or rule over everything and say this is the way it's supposed to be, or do you think the schools should still have the individual stuff? It should be taken out of your hands.
Well, look, I think that if somebody did that, then it needs to be done for the player, in the best interest of the player. And, we have a lot of good programs at Alabama in our program that helps players. Drug and alcohol program, whatever you want to talk about. So I wouldn't like to see somebody, because if they just say, well, we have a drug program because we drug test, that's not a drug program. That's a testing program. I went through this with the